A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight, I'm in conversation with someone who absolutely needs no introduction. A global icon in the musical landscape, a brilliant mind in music. Yes, I'm in conversation tonight with Ustad Zakir Hussain. He speaks to me about the evolving landscape of classical Indian music and why it's important to maintain the balance between tradition and innovation. Listen in. Thank you so much, Zakir ji, for being on Leaders of Tomorrow today. It's a pleasure and an honor having you today.
It is my honor and pleasure, Ritwika ji, and thanks to the watchers of ET.
Zakir ji, let me tell you a little bit about our show, Leaders of Tomorrow. You know, it is watched by a lot of entrepreneurs and young business minds. What I want to actually really understand is that, is an artist today required also to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You have to, in fact, what we've been trying to do lately is try to incorporate not only the teachings of the art form itself, whether it's tabla or vocal or dance or anything, but also to be able to include into the curriculum of whatever the teacher promotes and transmits is the ability to be able to, how should I say, govern your life as an artist.
Right.
And that involves learning how to use a computer. That involves building your own website, your media savviness, increasing that, building a PR system for yourself. And then also, apart from that, also learning to be able to use the computer to be able to be a composer, to write music, to use electronic stuff, to create a studio of your own in your own environment. So all these elements are now part of being a musician, and therefore part of being a music student. You have to learn all this stuff. And so yes, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be able to package yourself. You have to be able to invent yourself in a way that you're valid in the time that you live in, and in the place that you are you're trying to project your art form in, and so on and so forth. So yes, I would in fact urge most colleges, schools, universities to be able to add this element in the curriculum where, I mean, because what happens is every school, like this, a school which has 200 tabla students, and they can all become decent, but no placement, because that school has 200, the other school has 300, someone has 50. Where will they all go? They have to be able to find a way to be able to make themselves, desirable, for whatever that needs to be looked at in terms of music injections. So yes, so you must be able to find a way to be able to project yourself, PR yourself, become savvy at whatever is the need of today in terms of being a musician. And so, yes, so the old maestros would just all day long play their music and had no clue as to even how to write a letter to a promoter.
Right.
And somebody had to come from a neighborhood until I was able to read and write English. My father had to go to the post office and have the postmaster write his letters for him. He was illiterate and he couldn't do that. So, and therefore when he started touring and performing, he was not able to interact with the press. He was not able to interact with the promoters in any way. So he was not able to project himself, not only just musically, but also socially. And so he was always in the background, and even though he and Ravi Shankar were partners, Ravi Shankar ji was able to do that, and my father was not, so he just kind of stayed in the back and shy, and so that happened. So I feel that yes, you have to be entrepreneur-like in not only performing but also to be able to promote.
Absolutely. We're at this lovely event today. If you could also talk to us about your collaboration with SOI and, of course,
Oh my God,
NCPF.
yes. It's a ceiling that was broken in a way. Tabla player,
Yeah.
therefore a rhythmist, not necessarily anything to do with melody.
Yeah.
Being asked to write a piece of music that would involve an 80-piece orchestra with violins, violas, cellos, woodwinds, bronze, horns and everything, was such an unusual, unique thing. I mean, I thought they were out of their mind when they asked me to do this, but I guess they knew something that I didn't, and it's my mindset that they noticed and admired, which was that I was not afraid to take a chance, and I was not afraid to try things in a different way, and so they gave me a chance to do my first concerto. That gave me the strength to be able to write another one, which I did, and that was a concerto for 4 soloists, which was called Aas, meaning hope, I guess, and that featured Shankar Mahadevan, Hariharan, opera singer named Kelly O'Connor, myself, and the full orchestra. It actually also performed here at National Center for Performing Arts, I think 2 years ago or something.
Nice.
But it was premiered at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Right.
They commissioned it. So that happened, and then now this new piece that SOI has asked me to write, and these 2 other pieces have had a lot of rhythmic element and melodic element, but this one will focus more on the melody element, and 2 great musicians like Rakesh Chaurasia on flute and Niladri Kumar on sitar. These are 2 of the finest that India has when it comes to classical music and its projection. And I have to say that these musicians are not only in their mind just Indian classical musicians, they are musicians of the world. They know equally as much about Western music as they do about Indian music. So my job is very easy then. All I have to do is give them a musical passage that I have visualized for the orchestra and tell them, now you do something that you want to do with it. And very easily they'll be able to inject the right kind of emotion through their music ability and their instruments. And then that's it, it's done. So I'm really looking forward to how this is going to turn out. I just turned in the composed part. Now, if you were to look at the composed orchestral score, the book, you will see that every passage for the orchestra itself is all written out and put there. But where it says sitar and flute and tabla, it's blank.
Okay.
So what it's doing is it's allowing sitarist and the flautist to be able to find their own way through it. And the reason for that is because Indian music, we improvise.
Yeah.
So spontaneous creativity is the call of the day. So that against the fixed element of Western classical music written process is something will only work if Indian musicians who are performing have the understanding of what Western music is all about.
Sure.
So I'm glad that I got a chance to do this. I was here at NCPA 50 years ago when it was first formed. Ravi Shankarji and I, my father, and South Indian percussionist Palgat Raghu, we all performed together right here in this very auditorium, Tata Theatre. And it is such a sense of pride and joy in my heart to see it grow into, having this beautiful symphony orchestra and a theater department and the dance department and Indian classical music department and having a library, having an archival studio and gallery, exhibition gallery and so on. So it is, I've seen this, I've been a part of it, I've performed here just about every year in those 50 years, at least twice, if not more. So I feel like this is home in some ways.
That's wonderful. And picking up from what you just said, if you could also give us an overview of the musical landscape in India today, especially classical music, how would you perceive it?
Classical music of India is now a globally recognized entity.
Absolutely.
Just like you have Western classical music, or jazz, or
Yeah.
rock, or pop, these are universally recognized music forms.
Yeah.
Indian music is amongst them.
Sure.
You go to Japan, China, Malaysia,
Yeah.
Russia, Europe, anywhere.
Yep.
Africa, South America, you say Indian music, and they know what you're talking about. And now another element has been added in all these parts of the world, along with Indian music. When you say Indian music, they also say, oh yeah, Bollywood. Bollywood in the last 15 years or so has gained immense popularity all over the world.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. And Indian classical music, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the premier forms of music in the world. And it has equal status as all these other forms of music I mentioned. And in India, it is, I think, going through a resurgence, contrary to what anybody else feels.
Yeah.
I feel that there's definitely more attention on Indian music. Maybe I'm seeing it from a different point of view because the kind of attention that I receive and the kind of audiences that come to my concerts.
Yeah.
And then I go to concerts and I see Niladri, Rakesh, or Sabir, or Kaushiki, and so many other great young performers, incredible performers. They all have such adulation from the audiences coming to them that I find that it is in no way regressing. It is definitely on the upswing.
Yeah.
And one of the other reasons for that is that in the last 10, 12 years, media has decided to get behind it, get behind the art form. And so now you have this promotion available, and when that happens, which was not available to people like Ravi Shankar or Ali Akbar Khan or Vilayat Khan and Birju Maharaj and so on in their younger years. So when that is available, you grow, and so that is what's happening with Indian music. And so I feel that there is a renaissance of sorts, and it's, I think, only going to get better because the bench strength of Indian classical music, the younger ones behind, are very scary good. They are amazing.
Amazing. It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11, and tonight I'm in conversation with Ustad Zakir Hussain. You know, you have done a phenomenal job of retaining the tradition as well as expanding your work on the global stage. How important do you think it is to actually maintain the balance between tradition and innovation today?
There's no doubt that you have to keep reinventing yourself to be valid for the time you're in.
Yeah.
But you cannot reinvent yourself. You see, you look at tradition. Tradition is not tradition if it's forgotten. Tradition is only valid and strong and concrete if it can stand the test of time. So therefore, I mean, in the last 600 years, has Western classical music survived? Yes, it has.
Yeah.
You can hear it. You have orchestras all over the world.
Yeah.
Has Indian classical music in the last 2,000 years survived? Yes, it has. And it is still being performed.
Yeah.
And what is the core element that is required in the creative process of any form of music in India? Indian classical music. You have to know Sare Gama.
Of course.
You have to know Teen Tal and Jhap Tal and Kairwa and all that. Unless you know all this, you're not going to be able to bring that element into, if you're going to sing a tune to somebody, you think you're making a Western tune, and that somebody has to play it, you're going to have to tell him what the notes are.
Yeah.
You're going to have to say, okay, sa, ma, ga, re, are shudre nahi, komal re. You have to tell them. So when that happens, you have to, that music core will survive, will live, will always be there. So for, I think this traditional aspect of Indian music has such an incredible DNA that it is now part of the creative process of whatever Indian music or Indian, how should I say, panorama of music will shape as in the future.
Right.
And so I don't see that Indian classical music has in any way lost its ability to live, to breathe, to survive, to be part of the creative process. I think it's much more a part of a creative process. Look at this movie Bandish.
Yes.
I mean, it's there. I mean, look at Katiyar Kaljat Ghusli, all those great films that have been coming out and glorifying Indian traditional art forms.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, there's going to be the need to be able to entertain those that need surface kind of entertainment, but then there will always be people who want to have a multi-dimensional experience of what creative process is.
Right.
And so,
Zakirji, there's a growing concern, about ensuring the youth of today, the younger generation of Indians, they take to classical music, they understand the authenticity and the richness of classical music. What do you think are the key factors that need to be incorporated for that to happen?
I think I mentioned earlier that the more modern resources like Google, computer, all that stuff, Indian classical music was an orally taught art form.
Right.
When I sat with my father, I learned. When I was not there, I was, left to my own devices to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and when he was gone on tour, I did not have an input. I did not have a plug-in.
Yeah.
But now, it doesn't matter. Now I have him. When the pandemic hit, I was like sitting at home, so I was sifting through a lot of things, and there I found old cassettes of him talking about music, or him teaching music and all that. I tell you, it was such an incredible thing. I suddenly felt like I went through a time warp, and I was there. And not only that, but what was more interesting to me was that when I was getting those tapes done, and I was there, I was what you might call a very, whippersnapper of a young man. And I wanted to get this done so I could go do something else. But re-listening and being in my mind there, the words grew into humongous mountainous shape so that I could see the shades. And suddenly I realized that there was more that he was trying to tell me than I was actually willing to notice at that time because of my impatience.
Right.
So this resource, this modern resource, which is not modern anymore, cassettes, brought me information that I had totally lost, I thought. But no, and so I feel that I've rejuvenated myself through this pandemic by visiting and learning. And so these processes are going to be the ones that are going to help, that are going to preserve classical music, and they are going to make us, have the ability to be able to regenerate.
Right. One last question. The theme for our show this season is Ideas for New India. What is that one big idea do you think will have a profound impact on the classical music industry?
Classical music?
Yeah.
I think the mindset. We tend to mix and match in our ensembles. What
Sure.
we wear, what we eat, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we have chicken curry pizzas. I mean, but the mindset that it's all right to be able to have the ability to be able to mix and match. And that mixing and matching doesn't mean that you have the elements that you have taken to fuse together
Yeah.
have individually lost their ability to be of interest.
Sure.
So if we can somehow, in our mindset, not lose the ability to understand the enormous ability that each element individually has, and to respect that ability, and know that till the end of time, that those elements will be there and will have enough for us to draw upon.
Nice.
It doesn't matter how much we take, there will still be more. So they are not to be just, tasted once and then thrown away, like a little coffee thing that you put in that coffee machine.
Yeah.
And it's something that exists for eternity, that mindset.
Well, it was lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for being with us
It
today.
is my pleasure, Ritwika.
Thank you
Take care.
so much. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you and good night.